Peasant Productions presents The Math of ESP, Why It Works Even If You Don't Believe in It. Kind of a summarization here at this point in time. Those of you that are actually listening to the majority of what I'm putting up here, you realize that I can keep going back to this. I don't need this huge, long, 50, 60, 1,000 pages of mathematical equations to show what I'm saying, to show what's really happening in the real world. It's not like the Einstein equations, it's not like, quantum physics or anything like that, where you have to have tons and tons and tons of math. When I first started writing this stuff down, it definitely kind of peeved me that I was trying to put so much mathematical equation together. And when the desktop computers were around, and in 1987, 1988, yeah, I got together with my now ex-wife, and I got my first PC, and I started trying to write this stuff, and I realized that the computer didn't even have all the coding easily accessible to write mathematical equations like what I wanted to write. I mean, the does not equal sign didn't really exist. It probably exists now somewhere, I'm sure, but in the original PC machine, the 8088, it didn't. It wasn't there. Just a quick keystroke type of a thing. For that reason, I kind of, got bogged down on the idea of, what a pain in the butt this is going to be to put in a book. 1989, I bought the screen printing business with my girlfriend, later to be my wife, and I got the Macintosh, and I quickly realized that, the graphics world was evolving very quickly, and the programmers and the people putting stuff together were going to develop what I needed. And I also quickly realized that the photography world was going to also adjust and change due to the digitalization. In 1979, I think it is when I first started talking to another professional photographer about the fact that he was learning how to digitize stuff and use digitalization of computer graphics to enhance photography and make it a lot better. So I knew the whole world was evolving and getting better, and that someday, where I'm at now, where I can sit here, I can make a piece of video, I can spend a few minutes editing it, and bang, I can throw it up onto this internet thingy and broadcast it out to the world. It'd be a lot simpler. That's both prophetic ability and simple logic. I just, I could see where things were going from a business perspective. At this point in time is a kind of a summary over the overall here. I am using stuff out of my personal life. I'm not trying to be all fancy about stuff. Consider that, the Revelations 2:17, which I got in 87, I was still very deeply concerned about what this connection to the Bible would be, what this passage out of the Bible was going to play out to be, why I was being told by the spiritual realm that A, it was okay that I had it, and B, it was actually kind of a necessary award for me to carry because of what I am, because of what I'm connected to, because of what I know and understand. Having that Revelations 2:17 is what led me to marry the wrong woman. Okay, Connie, for lack of a better way of putting it, simply stated that she hated men. She at no point in time ever changed her opinion of that. 3 days after we were married, it was very obvious to me that she was one of those women that just simply wanted to get married. But in making even the slightest comments to friends and family about there's an issue, she is immediately flipped and becomes somebody else. I want to annul the marriage. I was told, don't you fucking dare. We've invested money in you. We've invested money in the two of you together. You've got all this social status of being a married man now, and all the X, Y, and Z's that I couldn't really even, kind of step out of my shell of having been an abused person to do anything about the fact that I was recognizing that I was kind of walking into an abusive relationship very deeply right now, and have issues. That would end up leading to the broken arm. Okay, the broken arm is evidence of the corruption. Okay, which is part of the whole whistleblower status. I do not have anybody that helps me, anybody that defends me. Lawyers run like hell because, unlike most people, I'm not interested in receiving a couple of $1 million for having a broken arm. I'm interested in correcting the issue that the entire court system is very corrupt. And it lives off this corruption, and it feeds off the corruption, and it devours societies based on the fact that it is very corrupt, and it likes being corrupt, and it wants to be corrupt. Okay? So, I have in fact actually fulfilled the prophecies of a 1960 to 62 where I was told that I would go up against the governments. I would have issues and fights in my life. I was very much meeting the prophecies told to me in the time period from 1978 to 1981, when I had a guy who was the only person who could actually see some of the stuff I did with energy. He kept commenting about how I would, by my own single lonesome person, with nobody helping me at any point in time, take on the United States government and destroy them. I would shut them down. I would change that whole revelation, that whole recognition of the corruption of the United States government. I would take it on. I have now actually done that. I'm in the process. It's because I have not actually shut the United States government down yet, but I have the ability to. And I am also meeting another little piece of something out of this horrible book here. In Revelations 19:11, it states that the person must have a name written on them that no one but the rider of the white horse has. Revelations 2:17, no one, no God even knows that name that's in my hand. Okay? That's why I say you have to understand these passages from the perspective of what a God says, not what a preacher says, not what a pope says, because the pope and the preacher want you to understand this book in the form of putting money in their hands. Okay, they're going to tell you things that are way down the line, but if you keep giving us money, it's not going to happen to you. Reality check. Fukushima happened. Okay, you people have poisoned your entire planet. You are on, at this point in time, as we like to say in human speech, you're on borrowed time. You do not have an answer for the pollution you have caused to your planet. You do not have an answer for the atrocities that you have been doing to yourselves. You do not have a solution to the fact that you have committed suicide. Okay. Revelations 19:11 also states that the white rider of the horse of Apocalypse, the rider of the white horse of Apocalypse, we get that in the right order there, uses the armies of heaven. That person, that being, does not come in with guns and bombs and missiles. Therefore, it's not Korea, it's not Iran, and it's not the United States. It is somebody that deals with the spiritual realm, that can talk to the spirits of the weather, the mountains, the tectonic plates, the planet itself, the asteroid fields, things like that. Okay? There is a big difference between what a heaven army is and a human army. And it's in the wording right here in this book. Numerous people in my life know that I do that. Okay, I have no problem with it. That's one of the reasons why people like sailing with me, was because the weather just seems to be very nice, no matter how horrible a storm it is or whatever. I just seem to be able to use it and manipulate and work with it. There are numerous people that watch me disappear clouds or bend clouds or twist clouds or make funny shapes with clouds and stuff, from my own son on up. If I pick up my rain sticks and I start shaking my rain sticks, yeah, you can pretty much, you know, up until the chaos mode got started here, you could pretty much guarantee it was going to rain and pour around me. Raymond Sanchez, the guy that was involved in my making creating the International Space Station, we were sitting out front of my apartments in Burbank. I was doing a little garage sale, and he was reading a book and sitting on a lounge chair, and I was sitting in another chair reading a book and doing a little bit of sketching and stuff. And a single cloud came over and dropped a few raindrops. And he got quite a laugh, because I looked up at the cloud and you're getting my paper wet. What are you doing? You want to rain on something there? That hill over there is all dry. Go rain on that. And I turned back down. You know, I don't know, maybe like a minute later, he starts chuckling and laughing, and I look up and what's so funny? It's the clouds. It's so funny to watch you do that. I mean, look, the clouds over there on the hill now, raining over there, instead of being directly overhead and raining on us. So that stuff just happens all the time in my life. Okay, 1911. Where is it here? Okay. A name written on him that no one knows but he himself. Okay? Right there in the book. Now granted, this is not red. This is, you know, the black, so it's just some guy talking about his dreams. But needless to say, I carry Revelations 2:17. And in the processes of 30 years of working with this stone, of studying this stone, of learning about this stone, yeah, I did ask even Christ itself, well, don't you know the name on this stone? You know it, right? No, Peter. The Christ entity does not know that name that's on that stone. And I had to stop and think about the fact that I remember that. When you and I were on the spiritual plane and you placed that stone in my hand and I looked down at it, it was blank. And then you stepped in the vision 10 feet or so away from me, and the name appeared. So you could not see what the name was. Only I know this stone and name. Anyone can see the stone, because that's not forbidden. It's a mark that I carry. You walk the spiritual plane, you will see that white stone on me. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm in a human body, and this is a God object from the Christ entity. So only Christ can change it, nothing else. The Pope can't touch it. A preacher can't touch it. I can't. I can walk back to Christ. Here, dude, take your frickin' stone. And I've done it many times, and he just chuckles and puts it back in my hand. I can't do anything, okay? So, there's a lot of stuff. The big one's very real here, okay?